Our second conversation for this morning is all about Fisherfolk Month, which will be celebrated, is being celebrated actually, under the theme Leave No One Behind in Building an Enabling Environment for Our Small-Scale Artisan Fisheries. And on set with us we have Ms. Desiree Arzu, who is the Communications Coordinator at the Wildlife Conservation Society, as well as Ms. Felicia Pelayo, who is the Media Relations and Communications Specialist at the Belize Tourism Board. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, lovely people. As I was mentioning earlier, it seems coincidence that they have you guys with hazel eyes hosting the show.
And what do we say? He has hazel eyes.
But it's good to be here.
It
Thank
is
you
a
guys
pleasure.
for having us. We're doing our media rounds, so we were on other media during the course of last week and the week before, promoting our activities for Fisherfolk Month. You might be wondering why Felicia is here from the BTB and we're talking about Fisherfolk Month, but the BTB has been supporting us with these initiatives and activities for quite some time. They've supported Reef Week activities, and now they're also once again supporting us for Fisherfolk Month, so we're happy to have them on board.
I know that, and it's a pleasure having both of you ladies.
Thank
I
you.
know that the month of June is celebrated annually as Fisherfolk Month, or Fisherfolks are recognized a bit more in June, though they're recognized throughout the year with all of the initiatives and all the programs and assistance, etc. Let's talk a bit about the focus on fisherfolks and why it's important to zone in to their work and what they do and how they contribute to nation.
Yeah, well, you know, most of we like with seafood, right?
Oh, I love it.
Kongs fritters, Kong soup, you know, Kong ceviche, fish, lobster. The lobster season opens next month, and a lot of times we underestimate the work that goes into catching this seafood. Prior to working in conservation, I did not know that it took so much from fishers to plan their outing when they go to sea to fish, having to buy their fuel, having to buy their oil, having to prepare their food, and being out at sea for so long, and the challenges that come when they get out at sea, because there's illegal activities happening out there as well, and challenges can come by nature in terms of the weather, and it can also come by other individuals who might pose a threat to them and put them in danger. So we must recognize that it takes a lot for these folks, both men and women, and that's the reason why we say fisher folks. At one point we used to say fishermen, but men and women. So it's important for us to recognize that it takes a lot to source seafood, not just for our tables, but also for restaurants where we go to have it to eat, for our economy, because it plays a vital role in our fisheries industry. Honing in on these fishers every year during the month of June is just a small way we can say to them, thank you for what you do. Thank you for providing for us. And if you speak with fishers right now, you're going to hear most of them saying that they're spending so much, right? They're spending so much to go out there to try and source the seafood for us, but then the returns are not as good as it was probably 10, 20 years ago. So it's getting really hard for them. So it's only right that we recognize them during the month of June.
I 100% agree. I think sometimes we take for granted the work that goes into the type of job that they do, or the type of service that they provide.
Yes.
We don't necessarily have to go out there. We go to the fish market, and all we do is pay our money and get the fish. And we go home, we cook it, we enjoy it as a family without really thinking about the type of work that these men and women have to put in out there, the amount of hours they have to be out there to bring this food, seafood to the shores, but yet we expect it to be there every time we go out there. What are some of the activities or events prepared or planned for the month to honor and celebrate our fisher food?
So there are several activities that we have, and one of the things that we did this year Robin and Paul, is that, and Belizeans listening and watching, is that we worked with other organizations, other partners that also do work for fishers and with fishers to find out what are some of the activities that they are having during the course of June, and we included those on our calendars. So if you look at the calendar that we sent, you're gonna see activities, for example, from Blue Ventures, from Mar Alliance, from the Turnif Atoll Sustainability Association, from the Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management. It's not just WCS activities, because the planning committee is not just WCS either. It's also made up of individuals from the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism, CRFM, from the Fisheries Department, from the CNFO, which is the Caribbean Network of Fishery Organizations, and also for the past 2 years we've been including the actual fishers as a member of the Wabafo Fisher Association from Dengriga, is also part of that planning committee. So you're going to see activities from these organizations, but I just want to highlight two of the big activities that we really look forward to every year is the Women in Fisheries Forum, which comes up on the 17th and 18th of June, and that's where women from all segments of the value chain, we call it in fisheries, are at this forum to talk about some of their challenges and their experiences, because women have different experiences from men. And when we talk about fisheries and women, it's not just the fishers, it's also those scrapers, the ones who work in the cooperative, even those who are at the administrative level, like the head of NGOs. How do we all work together as women at different levels to make this a good industry? So we have the Women in Fisheries Forum, and this year is a very special year for that forum. I hope that Channel 5 will be there to cover it, because we're going to be having the first ever, and I don't know if I should say this.
Say it.
But yes, the first ever formation of a Women Fisher Association.
Wow.
That is a historic, and it's the women that asked for this. So that's going to happen on the 17th and 18th of June, and we're going to be down south doing that. And then one of the next big activities that we have every year is the Fisher of the Year Award.
Yes.
The call for nominations opened on the 3rd, which was yesterday, and it stays open until I believe the 20th of June, where you can nominate your fisher that you think deserves this title. There are stipulations, but you can reach out to myself at drzu@wcs.org for a nomination form, and then we also have a segment like for the younger people who prefer to do a video. You can do a video as well and submit it, no more than 2 minutes. So outside of that, we have several other activities, but those are two I wanted to highlight on this year's program.
I want to get Miss Felicia in the conversation
Yes.
really quickly, because she's here representing the Belize Tourism Board. And I think it goes without saying that the fisheries sector industry serves a greater purpose than just consuming fish. There are sporting fishing activities. There are ways that we use also fish for jewelry. Let's talk about the importance of having tourism be a part of this conversation as we celebrate Fisherfolk Month.
Definitely. I think I've learned a lot in what Ms. Desiree shared in the past couple of minutes than I had known before. For us at the BTB, part of promoting Belize as a sustainable tourism destination is definitely providing support to the people on the ground, and those are the NGOs, those are the fishing communities. The fishing industry is definitely a significant part of the tourism industry, and there is no way to promote a sustainable tourism industry without promoting sustainable fishing practices. We've definitely seen a move over the years with the type of travelers that are coming to Belize. They're looking for sustainable experiences. We definitely see that the sports fishing industry is becoming a huge part of the draw for tourists to come to Belize as well. We're seeing Grand Slams, we're seeing a lot of new fishing events happening across the country now. For us, definitely the seafood is a big part of the attractiveness of our gastronomy. That's something that Belize is getting a lot of attention for, our creativity with our seafood, the sustainable practices. We know there are programs such as I think it's a Fish Right, Eat Right program that promotes sustainable fishing as well. For us also, by supporting National Fisherfolk Month, we're looking to support the people who are often the first in seeing what's going on in our oceans. You know, they're the first persons out there that are seeing any changes, any negative impacts that's happening. There's also this big culture in Belize, this big maritime heritage that we have. The knowledge that our fisher folks have, a lot of that is traditional knowledge that's been passed through the generations, and I think that deserves recognition in itself.
That's true.
Very much, you know, a lot of people don't wake up and think, I want to be a fisher. It's a part of
Their family.
It's a part of their family. It's
That
been
is
in
true.
generations. It's been something that, you know, they've been exposed to from when they were growing up. And I think a lot of times that's not often recognized. So for us, we do want to support the activities that the different partners are having. Also in the month of June for us, there is World Oceans Day. So we have Fisherfolk Month, which is a more national celebration, and World Oceans Day, which is a global celebration.
Yes.
And for us, we are always promoting the Belize Barrier Reef as this grand attraction, but it's also a part of our marine ecosystem that we need to protect. And it's interconnected. You need a healthy fishing industry to have a healthy, you know, marine ecosystem. For us last year for World Oceans Day, which is June 8th, so it's right here, this weekend, we had launched the Reef with a Beef campaign, social media campaign. And for us, that was a way to create awareness by having our barrier reef be the voice of a social media campaign and promoting, you know, why we need to take care of our marine resources, why we shouldn't be littering, why we should be having sustainable fishing practices. It's still very much an active campaign. There is an Instagram account, a Twitter account that people can go and follow, and you will hear our barrier reef basically trash talking in a fun and engaging way, but also creating awareness. So that's what we did last year during the month of June, and this year we will be having a small cleanup activity led by BTB staff in Belize City, and that's also again to bring awareness about why we need to protect our oceans. So for us, we definitely see that interconnectedness between the fishing industry and the tourism industry.
I appreciate what you're saying, because what you're showing is that there is a space where tourism and conservation can coexist. Talk a bit, if you would, about the BTB's philosophy where that is concerned, the coexistence of tourism and conservation.
Yes, definitely that's something that we saw really took off after the pandemic, that moved towards sustainable travel, sustainable tourism. And a big part of that starts right here at home with protecting our natural resources, whether it's terrestrial or marine. There is an impact that one has on the other. So for us, we very much try to support initiatives like National Fisherfolk Month. We definitely try to support the work that our partners, that these NGOs are doing on the ground. We very much try through our own campaigns, the Civic Pride campaign, for example, to encourage Belizeans to do our part, and also to recognize that there's individual actions that do affect our larger ecosystems. We see that Belize is very much being recognized as a leader in sustainability. And this year we're hosting the first World Sustainable Travel and Hospitality Awards. It's an inaugural awards, but Belize was chosen as the host destination for this awards that's being hosted for the first time in the world because of the conservation efforts, because of the sustainable tourism efforts that Belize was doing really before sustainable tourism, responsible tourism became buzzwords. And a lot of that was already being done on the ground by the NGOs in Belize.
Do you think that tourists are interested in where their fish comes from and how it is fished?
Definitely.
Where in terms of, did you guys take this out of a protected area, or were you actually in a zone that is meant for fishing when you got this, and the type of practices that you use? Is that something you think tourists care about?
Definitely. On a whole, we're seeing that visitors and travelers, they're looking for authentic experiences. They're looking to support local economies. They're looking to enjoy local products. And Belize is lucky where we very much have those farm to table or sea to table type of experiences where we can say, you know, this fish was caught in this particular area, prepared fresh here. And people want to be a part of those experiences. They want to learn more. So definitely.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Ms. Arzu?
I agree with Felicia, because when we did the Fish Right, Eat Right program that she spoke about earlier, it's we're no longer doing it, but it's still an initiative that makes sense. That was one of the things that many of the restaurants that we worked with mentioned, that the tourists who come to Belize are looking for, like she rightly said, that authentic experience, and they do want to know where their seafood comes from. So that was part of the idea behind the Fish Right, Eat Right initiative. But I just want to hone in on one thing that Felicia mentioned earlier in regards to fishers not planning to fish, but it being something traditional and within themselves. Now, the word, if you notice this year's theme, there's a word in the theme, artisanal, and that's basically saying that these men and women are skilled at what they do. So, for example, and I say this on every show that I go on, this is what I've learned since I'm in the conservation field, that fishers have particular bait, special bait that they use to catch special species, and they know where to go to catch these special species. So you have fisherman or fisherwoman tell you, when the others are saying no fish not there, they say fish there, and they know exactly where to go.
They're using the wrong bait.
And this is something that they acquired over the years. So their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers have been fishers for so long. They acquired this skill. Fisherman and fisherwoman, I tell you, when the weather look one certain way, you can't go fish, or if this is going to happen, you not have the number of fish that you expect to catch. So that's one of the reasons we want to recognize these folks, because the knowledge that they have, a regular John public or Jane public cannot have unless you're in that field for so long and you learned it over the years.
I want to look at the month that is chosen to recognize fisher folk. Is there a particular reason why we are celebrating them in the month of June?
That's a very good question. The 29th of June every year is Caribbean Fisher Folk Day. So we try to organize activities to coincide with that day. And a couple years ago, the lobster season was extended, the closure was extended to the end of June, so it's only right even more that we have it in this month, because the fishers are getting prepared to go out to sea at the beginning of July. So for example, you'll see one of the activities as the blessing of the boat that comes towards the end of June, because they're preparing to get their ice, get all their stuff and go out to sea, so that when the season starts, they're all prepared. So, but the main reason is that Caribbean Fisher Folk Day is on the 29th of June, so we do the month to coincide with that day.
And I want to also touch on this year's theme, which is Leave No One Behind in building an enabling environment for our small-scale artisanal fisheries.
And again, the theme coincides with the celebration of Caribbean Fisher Folk Day. It's a theme that that the FAO, usually if you look at the FAO guidelines, you will see some of the highlights of what they expect to happen within the fisheries industry. And like I said, for the women in fisheries particular, we want to include women, because for a long time they have been excluded and their input in the fisheries industry has gone unnoticed. So the theme represents something that we don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to include everyone if we're saying we're building the fisheries industry.
How have we seen women's participation in fisheries grow over the years? Just because, like you rightly said, when we talk about fishing, we usually think fisherman.
Yeah.
Fisherman.
Yeah.
Even the saying go, fisherman no say fish stink. Never say fisherwoman no say fish stink, right? And that's our old time saying. And so the focus on women in fisheries is welcome.
Yes.
But how have we seen it grown over the years? Because even when you go to fish market, it's mainly men you see as well.
Yeah. So with that question, I want to mention here before I respond to it, that when people think about fishers from today moving forward, don't think about just the people who go out to sea and throw their lines or throw their nets or
the person
go
actually
diving.
catching the fish.
Yes.
Though you do have women out there that
who do
does
that. Yes, but don't just think about those people. Think about the ones who scrape the fish when you go to Conch Shell Bay and you need your fish scraped. who are the people you see scraping? Many times they're women. Think about the people in the cooperative who do the packaging of these products. Think about women like us who are at a level where we help to steer legislation to protect fishers. So I think that's one, to answer your question, that would be something that would have been or is improving in Belize, because like I said, for the first time ever, we're having the formation of the Women Fisher Association in Belize, and it is these women that have asked for this. There are women, for example, in Sartaneja who are wives of fishers who have also contributed because they have opened, for example, like small Airbnbs. So they have, to go back to tourism, they have their little extra room in their own building for tourists. When they come, they can stay there and get this authentic local experience. There are women who make jewelry from lionfish, from the scale or the fins of the lionfish. There are women who do other things that might not be directly fisheries, but it's contributing to the fisheries industry. So moving forward, I would like for people to think about things like that when they think about the fisheries industry, not just fishers going out and fishing, but also contributing.
And that's why I mentioned that when I was bringing Felicia in the conversation, because when we think of the fisheries industry, we oftentimes just think of throwing that line and catching that fish. But it's much, much beyond that at this point. We even have women taking part in sporting fishing activities. But I want to go back to the conversation of sustainable fishing and the collaboration with our fisher folk individuals. And I'm talking from the individuals catching the fish to the persons taking part in more commercial fishing, sporting fishing and whatnot, and even the persons involved in jewelry making. Do we see the collaboration and the understanding from our fisher folk on the importance of fishing sustainably?
You want to take that?
I think you could speak a bit more to that.
Collaboration in what sense?
Do you believe that they understand the importance of fishing sustainably and how it impacts them, and of course Belize in a broader aspect?
I think many of them do, but like with everything else, we still have to continue our work, because there are incidents where you have some fishers, for example, you guys have had it on the news where there are some fishers who fish outside the season, they're caught with illegal conch or they're caught with illegal products. So it's not something that it's not a one-time approach to conservation or sustainability. You can't come on, open your eyes once every year, every June, and say this is what should happen, and then don't keep the conversation going or the engagement and education going. So there are fishers who genuinely care about the environment and are doing what they should be doing to conserve it. And then, like with everything, you have those who are, but to answer your question, I think overall we have been making strides, and more positive stuff have been happening than negative. So we can't stop the work, and it's collaboration like what we're doing here with BTB and other entities that will help us to reach our goals, because definitely WCS cannot do it on its own. The BTB cannot do it on its own. It has to be a collaborative approach, and I'm sure you guys have heard those words so many times with different things, but seriously, it takes a village to get it done.
Yeah, I think it's gradual transformation through information sharing and understanding. It's not easy to break traditional practices, but as we are more informed and as we're more exposed to different data and information, because technology is advancing, then we begin to understand the impacts some of our practices have on our environment, but as well as the good practices that we have. Just to kind of wrap up the conversation, I want to go back to the nominations for the Fishers of the Year. Walk us through one more time the process. How is it that if I know a family member or a good friend that's out there working in any part of the chain, how is it that I can get them nominated? And who decides at the end of the day which person is selected?
Very good question. So if you would like to nominate a fisher for the Fisher of the Year award, you must first request the nomination form, because we don't have it online. but you can request a nomination form from the Fisheries Department at isabel.martinez@gov.bz. That's isabel.martinez, martinez.gov.bz, or from myself at WCS, darzu@wcs.org. Request the form via email. For those who don't have email, you can visit our office. We're at 1755 Coney Drive, and the Fisheries Department is on Newtown Barracks. Get a copy of the form, fill it out, 250 words for your essay, and there are other things that you need to fill out. For example, the nomination, the name of the person you're nominating, your name, your contact information, how long that person has been fishing, if they have a valid fisher's license, are they part of a cooperative, are they part of a fisher association. What are some of the things that qualify them in that 250 word essay? What are some of the things that qualify them to be Fisher of the Year? If you prefer, do a video. Do the same thing via a video, because you know the young people, they prefer for video. We don't want to write nothing.
Right.
So do a video, 2 minutes max, and do the same thing. But the only thing is, if you're going to be doing your video in your first language, whether that's Spanish, Garifuna, whatever it is, we need an English translation. In terms of there are certain criteria that the committee who does the judging look for when we're scoring. So there are points allotted to different segments. We can't say all that right here, but we do, if people ask for a copy of the scoring sheet, we do provide them with that. But there are certain criteria, we award points, and there are different members on this committee who do the judging, and then at the end of the day, we have the award, which will be this year on the 27th of June at 10 a.m. at UWI. So we're going to be awarding a Fisher of the Year and 2 outstanding fishers.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Ladies, I'll give you this final opportunity to share your last words.
You could go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to encourage everybody to tune in to the BTB page on June 8th. We do have a special initiative that we hope to be back here during the month of June to talk about. So last year we launched Reef with a Beef. This year we have a new initiative to launch. So.
Reef with a beef. Love that.
And I just want to mention here quickly, Hamanasi has been also a part of our Fisherfolk Month every year. So big up Hamanasi, of course, the BTB, Elvis Kitchen in San Pedro, the Belize Audubon Society, the Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, and Wabafu, Blue Ventures, CRFM, the Nature Conservancy. I must say they are actually our biggest sponsors. Every year they give a good sum of cash for the Fisher of the Year award. So any fishers they collect $3,000 a Fisher of the Year. It's from the TNC. So thanks to all of you for helping to make Fisherfolk Month a success every year. And to the general public, find a fisher, tell them thank you, but you can do even better than that. Nominate the person that you think should be awarded the Fisher of the Year this year, and do your part in helping to recognize them for the month of June and throughout. Thank you.
Excellent. Ladies, thank you so much for stopping by, sharing with us all the information we need to know on how to celebrate Fisherfolk this month, and of course this year by extension.
Thanks for having us.
All right. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, it's probably one of my favorite segments coming up. That's because it's the countdown to Mango Fest 2024. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.